Hello and welcome to Rocket Storage, or Scorcher's Pit, sorry, but also Rocket Storage. As with all boss fights, nothing's going to happen until I move Spyro, but I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what I want to accomplish in this fight. Even before I get into our goals for this fight, I need to clarify what Rocket Storage is going to do. So, stealing a projectile from this fight will stay with Spyro beyond this level. That's the theory there. We can only take green rockets out of the fight. Reds don't do anything, sadly. And that does add another layer of difficulty. Taking a green rocket out of the fight gives us a long-range projectile. And there aren't many uses of long-range projectiles in this game, from what we can tell, but there is a substantial sequence break that we will perform. The timing of this trick is arguably the hardest part. We can manipulate the other things in a sense, but timing, the final hit, matters because when you defeat Scorch and their health drops to 0, everything that's on the field will disappear. No more rockets. Anything in your inventory already, gone. But if Bentley throws the moment Scorch dies, the projectile or chicken that they've thrown will remain on the field. We want that projectile to be a green rocket, as that is the only projectile we can then take out of the fight. The timing will vary depending on if Bentley is running around, if they have just thrown, so you gotta wait a set amount of time. Hopefully the visual example will make more sense of that. But this is a constantly changing fight, and the only way to get good at rocket storage, from my experience, is to fail a lot. So don't be disheartened and put in the practice. Firstly, I want to defeat Scorch quickly. And defeating Scorch quickly means you stun lock him. Bentley has 2 types of projectiles he's going to throw for us. The red rockets give you, lots of small ammunition that you can shoot quickly, and that gives us enough of a window to continue to shoot at Scorch for a prolonged period of time. The green rockets are single use, which is unfortunate, because if Bentley throws one, we can't continue to stun lock Scorch very easily. So we definitely want a red rocket. However, when we leave the fight, in order to perform rocket storage, we want a green rocket. So how do we make Bentley throw a green or a red? Now, at the start of the fight, unfortunately, we don't have much choice. We have to deal with whatever Bentley throws at us. That is the RNG that exists, as well as Scorch's attacks. But towards the end of the fight, we do have control over what Bentley throws. What was discovered by Cerberus a few years back was Bentley only has 6 rockets in his inventory. 4 of those are green, 2 of them are red. And as long as those rockets are sitting on the field in front of us, they disappear from his inventory. So he's only left with whatever's not on the field. So that means if he's got 6 rockets to pick from, and we have 5 on the field, say 3 greens, 2 reds, then that last rocket is always green, right? Now, there's a little bit of nuance to that, because the rockets do disappear after a set amount of time. But if we do the fight properly, without much hesitation, you will not encounter despawning rockets. I will talk about some of the things that can go wrong as we do it. Starting off, Bentley will either throw fire or eggs. They're always crabs at the start. We have a red on the field. Scorch won't hesitate to move when there's only 1 crab left. I like to stand under Scorch to hit him for the first time. And there's a second red. I'm actually going to pick that one up, and I'll explain why. It's the first one that Bentley's thrown since we do the stun lock. If it's going to despawn, it will be the first to despawn. I do not want Bentley to throw a red at the end of the fight. You'll also notice that whilst I'm underneath Scorch to get the stun lock going, I'm cutting a bit more inside the level each time. Was that a red or a green? I didn't see. Nice, we have 3 green rockets on the stage, so soon Bentley's going to be throwing reds. I think that was the last green, yep. So we know the last 2 are going to be reds. And that's really unfortunate because I stood still too long. I'm actually just going to sit here and wait. In a perfect world, this is where I would do rocket storage. But I have to wait for the reds to make it consistent. With 4 greens on the field, we know that Bentley will throw reds. This will be second red, yeah. I got a bit lucky because I accidentally picked up a green. I was a little early, but I'll explain why that was early as well. Bentley throws on a consistent timer. So in my head, I usually count to 9. I'll see if I can demonstrate that for you too. In order to do that, we need to see Bentley start throwing stuff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I was a little late with the count, but approximately 8 or 9 on that counter, Bentley will throw each time. The only time he doesn't is when he's moving. He can't throw when he's moving, so it has to be when he stops, and then we keep it going. Funnily enough, we used to use a metronome to time things like that. I'm going to attempt to do the fight in full without hesitating. So once again, I'm looking to stun lock Scorch, which stops him from throwing eggs. That's crucial, because if he throws eggs, you have to kill all the enemies, and that's slow. Not to mention some of the enemies, particularly the TNT ones, are very annoying. Oh, and also Buzz. This is a much better start because we already have 1 red on the field. We only need 2, but then he only has 2, so perfect. This is the ideal setup because now, no matter what Bentley throws, it's green. If we want to be even more safe, each time he has a green on the field, we could pick it up. Because we just want to maximize our chances, it's all a game of probability, that Bentley throws a green. I used the green rocket there because I had a feeling I was not going to make it in time for the stun lock. That's a bit of a privilege you get when the fight's going your way. This is a really good cycle. Bentley's going to throw when he stops. And now, we find the green rocket. That is rocket storage. The very last part of the fight is a bit unfair, and that is also a bit RNG too. It's why I like to stand near the middle. Bentley doesn't always throw the same distance. You may have noticed in that fight he threw something off the stage. Like sometimes he just does a long throw, sometimes he does a short throw. That's not really up to us. But I find that if I stand near the middle, most of the time when the green rocket is thrown, it lands near Spyro. We only have a couple of seconds to grab it before we lose control of Spyro and have to go through the egg cutscene. Yeah, I think a lot of people who have run this category have experienced how agonizing it is to be close to Green Rocket, but not able to pick it up. And I've lost many runs there. I can't sugarcoat it, it's a tough trick. But it is also a huge time save, because now, in Crystal Islands, I won't need to spend 1,000 gems on a bridge that no one wants to use. So, if we have the green rocket here, we don't really want to engage with Bianca, who is somewhere invisible up there. You can skip Bianca's trigger. The way I would usually do so is with a pretty tight glide over to the left. That was very risky. You have to make your way behind this basket. After that, ascend the stairs, rescue Saki on the island, and take precautions not to die. Because losing this rocket now, really bad for the run. Because you would have to either revisit Scorch or go with the backup, and yeah, that doesn't bode too well. You would then need to glide over this massive trigger, and I recommend hovering after the gold gem. Any closer and you'll most likely have to watch the Bianca trigger anyway. And with that, all you would need to do is enter Crystal Islands. But of course, rocket storage is not ideal for everyone. I've reached the point in my runs where I don't have a choice. If I go for anything less than rocket storage, I will not PB. What I would do instead of rocket storage then, if that's not on the cards, we'll start by redoing Midnight here, as talking to Bianca is no longer the slower option. We would need to return to Midnight anyway, so assuming we've just come out of the Scorch fight and we don't have rocket storage, we would talk to Bianca. To be honest, on console I would do that anyway, because it's not going to lose you any time. And as soon as you've rescued Saki, guidebook to Spike's Arena. This is where we're going to do the lesser known but still very effective Purple Rock. You've already seen Spike, nothing new here, it doesn't get more difficult on a second playthrough. Kind of a shame because this fight is just so easy. Phase 1 no worries, Phase 2 also exactly the same. Again, I'll try to aggro them so that they chase me into the projectile. One more time if you don't mind. Oh, and one more time if that's okay. The only difference is Phase 3. We need to steal one of the blue projectiles, whether you want to call them blue rocks, blue orbs, purple rocks, is entirely up to you. Now that Spike. Now that Spike is on 1 HP, I have to be very careful not to shoot him. Because if I were to fire this right now, the fight would end and I would have no storage to think of. So I'm going to watch Bird. As soon as he drops this, I can now pull the trigger. And I have to collect that before the egg cutscene plays. Exactly the same as rocket storage, but a lot more forgiving in terms of the timing. So once again, my flame breath has been replaced with a long-range projectile. This still lets us perform the sequence break in Crystal Islands, which you will be seeing very shortly. But the downside being, we had to go through the Scorch fight anyway. You know, it's mandatory. But we had to revisit Spike. It loses you easily a minute and a half, maybe more. But the run may continue, and that's what's important. This is still the better option than having to collect another 1,000 gems just for one level. As you can see, we can pull off the strategy we want, but I'm not able to guidebook. If I were to do that, I would lose this. So it's really important that we go from this vehicle, which has now disappeared, to this vehicle. Select Midnight Mountain. And yes, unfortunately we have to watch another load screen go through. But we keep the power up, and that's what's important. I will close out this section in a moment, and we'll go through all of Midnight to finalize the guide. But just remember, rocket storage may well be the most optimal decision you can make. Absolutely worth investing the time to understand and replicate the trick. But if you're more concerned with finishing runs in the beginning, get yourself a purple rock. You'll get really good at fighting Spike as well, which is, yeah, definitely not a bad thing. So, with both rocket storage and purple rock explained, we're going to go into Midnight Mountain. So, hope to see you there. And thank you so much for watching this far.